Let me tell you something that's going to mess with your head. When a man truly sees you as his future, he actually gets less romantic. Yeah, you heard that right. Less flowers, fewer sweet texts, less of that butterfly stuff. And I know that sounds obviously wrong, but stay with me because what I'm about to show you will change how you see everything. Most women think a guy who's getting serious should be doing more of the romantic stuff, more dates, more compliments, more effort to sweep you off your feet. But that's exactly how you end up confused about where you stand. Because the guy who's really building a future with you, he's not trying to impress you anymore. He's trying to live life with you. And those two things look completely different. And if you've ever been in a relationship where things felt amazing at first and then you started wondering if he's losing interest, or if you've ever asked yourself why he was so much more exciting in the beginning, this is exactly why. Because when a guy is dating you, he performs. When a guy is committed to you, he just exists. And most women mistake that shift for him checking out when it's actually him settling in. See, nobody tells you this stuff. Nobody explains that the moment a guy stops trying to win you is actually the moment he's decided you're already his. There's no announcement, no big conversation, no dramatic moment where everything becomes clear. What happens instead is quiet. His life starts bending around you without him even saying it out loud. The way he thinks about tomorrow changes. The choices he makes start including you before he even mentions it. And if you know what to look for, you'll see it plain as day. So let's break down the 4 things that actually happen when a guy mentally puts you in his future. Not the fairy tale version, the real version that actually matters. 1, he stops asking if you're free and starts assuming you're together. This one is massive and women almost never catch it. In the beginning, when a guy is dating you, everything is a question. Hey, are you free this weekend? Want to grab dinner sometime? Can I see you Thursday? He's checking your schedule. He's asking permission. He's making sure you want to hang out. And that feels good, right? Because it shows he's interested. He's making effort. He's pursuing you. But here's what happens when a guy sees you as his future. The questions stop, not because he stopped caring, because in his head, you're already part of his plans. He'll say stuff like, so Friday we should probably hit the grocery store, or next month when we go to that thing, or we need to figure out what we're doing for the holidays. Notice what's missing. He's not asking anymore. He's just including you. Because to him, it's obvious you'll be there. It's not even a question worth asking. And I know some women hear that and think, wait, shouldn't he still ask me? Isn't that kind of presumptuous? But that's not what this is. This isn't him being rude or taking you for granted. This is him operating from a place where you're already woven into his life, where making plans without you doesn't even cross his mind because you're just part of everything now. Let me give you an example. A guy who's casually dating you says, I'm thinking about going to visit my family next month, want to come. A guy who sees you as his future says we should probably book flights soon if we're going to see my family next month. See the difference? One is inviting you into his plan. The other has you already in the plan. One is asking if you want to be included. The other assumes you're obviously included. And that shift, that tiny little shift in how he talks about stuff, that tells you everything about where his head is. And here's the thing, this shows up everywhere once you start noticing it. He's talking to his friends about weekend plans, and he says we without even thinking about it. He's looking at apartments or jobs or cars, and he's considering how it affects both of you, not just him. He mentions stuff 6 months away, like obviously you'll be around. He talks about his future, and you're just in it. Not as a maybe, not as a hope, just as a fact. That's not him being controlling, that's him being certain, because guys don't build their tomorrow around a woman they're not sure about. We just don't. If we're not certain, we keep things flexible. We leave room for things to change. We don't lock ourselves into plans that include someone who might not stick around. But when we're certain, when we've decided this is it, you're not a variable anymore. You're part of the equation. And we start living like that without making any big announcement about it. Here's another way this shows up. He stops running every little thing by you and just does stuff that includes you. Early on, everything is a conversation. Should we do this? What do you think about that? Is this okay? But when you're his future, he just starts doing things. He buys tickets to something months away. He tells his boss he needs time off for a trip you barely discussed. He actions to his parents that you're both coming for Thanksgiving, and you're sitting there like, wait, when did we decide that? But in his head, you already did, because the decision to include you in everything, he already made that. Now he's just living it. And I want to be clear, this doesn't mean he never asks your opinion or doesn't care what you think. It means the big question of whether you're in his life is already answered. So now he's just operating from that answer. He's not checking if you're going to be around. He's building a life assuming you will be. And that assumption, as boring as it sounds, that's what real commitment looks like. 2, he stops trying to be perfect and starts showing you the messy stuff. Okay, this one throws women off all the time because we're taught that when a guy is really into you, he should be on his best behavior. He should be impressive, put together, showing you his best side. And yeah, that's true in the beginning, but here's what nobody tells you. When a guy sees you as his future, all that perfect stuff, it drops. And it drops hard, not because he stopped caring about you, because he stopped performing for you. In the beginning, guys hide everything that's not great. We don't want you to see us stressed. We don't want you to know we're worried about money or having a bad week or feeling unsure about something. We want you to see the highlight reel, the confident guy, the fun guy, the guy who has it all together. We're selling you on us. But when a guy decides you're his future, the sales pitch ends. And the real person shows up. He comes over after a terrible day and doesn't fake that everything's fine. He tells you he's stressed about work. He admits he's worried about something. He lets you see him tired, frustrated, overwhelmed, unsure. And you might be thinking, wait, isn't that bad? Isn't that him getting too comfortable? No. That's him trusting you with the real version of himself, not just the shiny parts, the whole thing. And that only happens when a guy has decided you're safe, when he knows you're not going anywhere. Because here's the truth, guys don't show weakness to women we're trying to impress. We show weakness to women we've decided to build with. There's a huge difference. Impressing you means hiding the hard stuff. Building with you means letting you see it. And when a guy shifts from one to the other, when he stops curating what you see and just lets you see everything, that's not him slipping. That's him committing. Let me tell you what this looks like in real life. He stops cancelling plans when he's in a bad mood. Early on, if a guy's having an off day, he'll bail. He'll make up some excuse because he doesn't want you to see him like that. But when you're his future, he shows up anyway. He doesn't hide the bad day. He just tells you about it. He stops pretending everything in his life is perfect. He talks about the stuff that's actually bothering him, his family drama, his money worries, his career stress, the things he's insecure about. And he doesn't do this to dump on you or make you fix it. He does it because in his mind, you're his partner now, and partners see the real stuff. Here's something else that changes. He stops being weird about looking bad in front of you. He'll admit when he screwed something up. He'll tell you when he doesn't know something. He'll ask for help. He'll look stupid and not care because he's not trying to maintain some image anymore. The image was for when he was trying to win you. Now that you're his, the image doesn't matter. What matters is being real. And when a guy gets real with you, when he drops the act and just shows you who he actually is on a random Tuesday when nothing special is happening, that's when you know he's not going anywhere. And here's the part women need to understand. This isn't him getting lazy. This isn't him taking you for granted. This is him taking off the mask. And yeah, the mask was attractive. The mask was impressive. But the mask was also exhausting and fake. What's underneath is the actual person. And when a guy trusts you enough to show you that person, flaws and all, he's giving you something way more valuable than flowers and compliments. He's giving you the truth. And truth is what you build a future on, not highlights. 3, he stops keeping score and starts thinking like a team. This one is so big and most people don't even notice it happening. When a guy is casually dating you, there's this unconscious scoreboard in his head. He took you out last time, so you should probably plan something. He paid for dinner 3 times in a row, so you should get the next one. He drove to you, so maybe you should come to him. It's not mean or calculated. It's just how guys think when we're not fully invested. We're keeping things balanced. We're making sure it's fair. We're tracking who's doing what. But when a guy sees you as his future, that scoreboard disappears, just gone. He stops thinking in terms of who did what and starts thinking in terms of what do we need. He doesn't care if he's been the one driving to see you every time. He doesn't count how many dinners he paid for. He doesn't keep track of who called who last. Because in his mind, you're on the same team now, and you don't keep score against your own teammate. You just do what needs to be done. Let me break down what this actually looks like. You need help with something and he just does it. He doesn't mention that he helped you last week or that you owe him one. He just helps because that's what you do for your person. You're having a hard time and he picks up slack without making you feel bad about it. He doesn't throw it in your face later. He doesn't use it as leverage. He just steps up because when you're struggling, he's struggling. Your problems become his problems, not in a codependent way, in a partnership way. Here's another thing that happens. He stops saying stuff like, well, you did this, so I did that. The tit for tat thing ends. Arguments don't turn into a list of who messed up more. Conversations don't become about balancing things out because he's stopped seeing it as you versus him. It's you and him versus whatever you're dealing with. And that shift from me and you to us, that's everything. That's what separates a guy who's dating from a guy who's committed. And here's what this means in everyday life. He does stuff for you without expecting anything back. He makes sacrifices without keeping a mental note. He puts your needs first sometimes and doesn't throw it back at you later. He supports you through hard stuff and doesn't act like you owe him. Because when a guy sees you as his future, your wins are his wins. Your losses are his losses. There's no separation anymore. What affects you affects him, and he operates from that place naturally. Now, does this mean he becomes a pushover? Does it mean he stops having boundaries or lets you walk all over him? No, it just means he stopped keeping a ledger. He stopped calculating who's ahead and who's behind. Because in his mind, there's no ahead or behind. There's just both of you moving forward together. And when a guy gets to that place, when he stops thinking about fairness and starts thinking about partnership, that's when you know he's locked in for real. 4, he gets boring and doesn't care. This is the one that confuses women the most because everything we're taught about love says it should stay exciting. It should be passionate and intense and full of butterflies. But here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. When a guy really sees you as his future, things get boring. And he's completely fine with it. Actually, he wants it. Because boring means stable. Boring means real. Boring means this is actually going to last. Let me explain what I mean. In the beginning, everything is exciting. Every text is thrilling. Every date is an event. Every time you see each other feels special. And that's great. That's how it should be when things are new. But when a guy sees you as his future, all that excitement levels out. Not because he's lost interest, because he's stopped treating you like a fun thing he does and started treating you like a person he lives life with. And life, real life, is boring most of the time. It's grocery stores and laundry and sitting on the couch doing nothing. It's regular conversations about regular stuff. It's routines and habits and the same things over and over. And here's what happens when a guy is serious. He doesn't fight that. He doesn't try to keep things exciting and fresh and new. He just settles into the boring. And he's happy there because the boring stuff with you feels better than the exciting stuff with anyone else. He'd rather sit around doing nothing with you than go out and do something amazing with someone else. And that preference, that's what commitment actually is. It's choosing boring with the right person over exciting with the wrong one. Here's what this looks like in reality. Date nights become less frequent and less elaborate. You're not going to fancy restaurants every week. You're ordering food and watching TV. You're not planning big adventures constantly. You're just hanging out. And early on, that would have made him restless. He would have gotten bored. He would have needed more. But now he's fine. Because it's not about what you're doing. It's about who he's doing it with. And when a guy gets to that place, when just being around you is enough, even when nothing exciting is happening, that's when you know he's serious. Here's another way this shows up. He stops needing everything to be special. He's fine with regular. He's okay with routine. He doesn't need constant novelty or stimulation or new experiences to keep his interest. He just wants to be near you, even if that means doing the most basic stuff imaginable. And I know that doesn't sound romantic. I know you want the guy who's always planning surprises and keeping things fresh and making you feel like every day is an adventure. But that guy, that exciting guy, he's often the guy who gets bored and leaves because he needs the high, he needs the rush. And when the rush fades, he moves on. But the guy who's fine with boring, the guy who's happy to have the same conversation you've had 100 times, eat the same dinner at the same place, watch the same show on the same couch, that guy is the one who stays because he's not here for the excitement, he's here for you. And you on a boring Tuesday night is enough. You on a lazy Sunday doing absolutely nothing is perfect. You in sweatpants with messy hair talking about your day is everything he needs. That's not settling, that's finding home. And here's what women need to understand about this. Excitement is easy. Anyone can create excitement for a few weeks or a few months, but choosing someone when things are boring, when there's no rush, no butterflies, no thrill, that takes real commitment. That takes a guy who's decided you're not just fun to be around. You're the person he wants to be around. Period. Exciting or boring doesn't matter. He's in. Let me tell you something else about this boring phase. This is where you find out if it's real. Because when the excitement wears off, what's left is the truth. If a guy sticks around when things are boring, when there's no fireworks, when it's just regular life, he's serious. If he gets restless or distant or starts looking for excitement somewhere else, he was never in it for the long term. He was in it for the feeling. And feelings fade, but commitment stays, even when it's boring. Especially when it's boring. So here's what all of this means. When a guy truly sees you as his future, it doesn't look like the movies. It's not grand gestures and big speeches. It's quieter than that. It's him planning like you're already part of everything. It's him showing you the real messy version of himself. It's him stopping the scorekeeping and thinking like a team. And it's him being completely fine with boring because boring with you beats exciting with anyone else. Those four things don't sound romantic. They don't give you butterflies. But they're what actually matters, because anyone can be exciting for a month. Anyone can be romantic when things are new. Anyone can perform when they're trying to win you. But showing up like this, planning you into tomorrow, being real about the hard stuff, acting like a team, choosing boring with you, that takes a guy who's decided, really decided. And here's the part that most people won't tell you. This shift doesn't happen because you chased him. It doesn't happen because you played games or acted a certain way or convinced him. It happens when a guy meets a woman and something just clicks. Something about who she is just fits into who he is. And when that happens, when it really clicks for a guy, he doesn't need convincing. He doesn't need chasing. He just starts showing up in these ways naturally. So if you're sitting there wondering if a guy sees you as his future, don't listen to his words. Don't wait for some big talk about where this is going. Watch what he does.